Welcome to the Your Mission Forward podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Baxter, and this is where we help you live with purpose and lead with impact. Because whether it's in your home, in your career, or in the mission you carry, leadership is more than a title. It's about how you show up in every space of your life. Here, we'll talk about the real journey of growth, how to lean in to who you're becoming, let go of what holds you back, level up in areas that matter most, and launch forward into the mission you were made for. Each episode is designed to equip you with mindset shifts, leadership tools, and inspiring stories that move you closer to the life and impact you're called to. Because your mission matters, and it's time to move it forward. Welcome to the Your Mission Forward podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Baxter, and I am so fired up to be kicking off our very first guest podcast. And I have a special guest with me today. I have known her for about 2 years, and she has made such an impact in my life. She is a powerhouse female leader. She is a VP of operations and customer service. She is an author. I have watched her develop teams, develop people, and really just move through some really difficult times in her life. She is the epitome of moving your mission forward. So I want to welcome our guest today, Miss Lauren Gilbert. Hey, Lauren.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited and glad that you are with us today. I say often that the vision of Mission Forward is to help people move their lives mission forward. And that can look really different in different seasons. And I think that the theme thing from your life that I really want to dial in on is around resilience, and how resilience really isn't avoiding challenges. It's about showing up with intention even when it's hard. And so perseverance is the theme of today. And I think that your life, both professionally and personally, has always exhibited that for me. So why don't you take a minute, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into some questions.
Okay, sure. So my background is education originally. So I grew up not knowing what I wanted to do, and then I randomly decided I was going to be a teacher like everyone else in my family. So I went into education first, and then realized I just wanted to make a bigger impact. I loved working with children, but I was watching other teachers who I knew could really use some coaching and leadership, and I was really passionate about that. So I shifted into leadership. I got my master's in school leadership, and then from there I realized, well, I'm still overworked and underpaid. And really I decided that I wanted to just make a career change. So I went into the corporate world, but I still wanted to help people learn and develop. And so I used my education background to work with adults and shifted into the corporate world. So I have spent the last, I can't believe it's going to be eight or 9 years that I've been with Connect America and 100 Plus. And I started in learning and development and then made a shift to operations. I think my passion is definitely learning and development, but I use all of those skills, I think, in my leadership and operations. So it all, led up to, I think, a single purpose. But after that, I can't say after, I'm still VP of Ops there, but then I did face some challenges. My daughter was diagnosed with autism earlier this year. And so we've, had some challenges at home working through that. And then I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, a very aggressive type, signet ring cell adenocarcinoma, in April. And so we've been navigating multiple diagnoses at home and surviving as a family, leaning on faith, and just, and in the meantime, obviously, I wrote a book. So
just in your spare time, yeah.
So I wrote it in January while I was still working. And then it's called Ella and Her Neurosparkly Brain, and it's all about my the main character is based on my daughter, and this little girl goes through it, she's has this amazing imagination, and then she goes through a really challenging time at school, but then she meets a new friend who opens her eyes and talks to her all about her amazing, beautiful neurosparkly brain. And so I published that children's book, and since then I have found such a greater purpose in my life. It is hard. I'm on leave from work. And so that's been different for me, totally different because I am a workhorse. And,
Yeah.
um, but now I am fulfilling a different purpose and
Yeah.
moving my mission forward.
Yes, I love that. And I think that's a big call out because I think sometimes when you hear the term purpose, you think it's this big like end goal, like it's like this is a destination. But purpose really isn't a destination. Your purpose is the impact that you're making in others. And so I've got to see you walk with purpose in the corporate arena. I'm hearing your podcast. I'm watching your social media feed as you fight through cancer, and you definitely are making an impact. So how do you do that? Let's talk about how you show up, and how you lean into purpose despite all the adversity that you're currently facing. How do you do that?
I think in all areas of life, whether it's corporate or personal or I mean anything really, the biggest thing for me was leaning into being vulnerable. It's vulnerability, letting go of control was a huge thing
Oh,
for me. I am a controller. I'm a perfectionist.
really?
I think we all know that. Um, and whether it was with work, I had to learn as a leader to let go, to stop needing to control everything. And then when cancer hit me, it was like a wake up call. I just had to learn that I needed to let others help me. I needed to shift from needing to have perfection to just being more authentic. And it certainly opened my eyes doing that. I mean, I think I've met some amazing people on this journey, even since April, since I got diagnosed and since my book has been published. And it's brought so many opportunities into my life that
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had otherwise. So I think it's leaning into being vulnerable and authentic
Yeah.
versus needing to control.
So let's pull on that authentic thread here for just a minute. So, okay, I've seen you again in corporate America. You're a very strong leader of leaders. Well, you've led some really big teams. And so I know we have a lot of folks that are listening that are high capacity leaders, and they want to lean into that vulnerability. They want to be able to be authentic, but they also have to lead a team and say stay strong and focused. So talk about that tension and balance. Like, how do you continue to lead and show up and still allow yourself to be vulnerable and authentic?
Such a great question and topic. So I I think of the two C's in my mind. I think clarity and compassion are like how I view how I approach being in the corporate world, being a
So
leader.
good.
Like you lead with data-driven decision making and clarity. You have to have clarity about where you're going. Everything is purposeful and planned, but also compassion and being a human. And I think, I've had some different bosses over the years, and then I feel like I'm pretty different than most of them. I feel like I lean on the compassionate side and being human, and I let my team see that, and that earns respect because I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
So I think it's showing your teams that you have clarity and the best interest of the team in mind, but you also are a human and you're human centered and you can make mistakes and learn from them. That's how we grow, right?
Yeah.
Is learning from our mistakes.
Yeah. The best leaders are not the leaders that are always right. I always like to say that the best leaders are the leaders that are always real and that are leading with clarity and metrics, but also bringing people along on the journey, right? Like you don't have all the answers, you don't have it all figured out. And
Why not?
finding the gold inside of people, like, and you being authentic and vulnerable allows them to be authentic and vulnerable, and you can complement one another in a greater way to achieve goals. So I love that. The second thing that you said that I want to talk about, as you talked about letting go of control. A great quote that I have for that is, you can have control or you can have growth, but you can't have both. So walk us through how you like, because we can all say let go of control. Like, that's easy to say, but to actually do that is a little bit more difficult. So speak a little bit about your journey of letting go of control, and what that looked like for you, and then maybe what the outcome was.
I think, sorry to think about that one.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Because it's definitely a process over time. It doesn't happen in an instant. Um, to be honest, I don't want to keep bringing up the cancer thing, but that changed my life.
Yeah,
And so I think that in the corporate world, I was learning to let go of control. I was really good at leading a team and being a team player, but then I was still this perfectionist. I
yeah,
still felt like I had to strive for perfection. But then when I got diagnosed, it just changed my perspective. And suddenly, things that weren't important, or that I thought were important weren't.
right,
And what I cared about is letting people know that I care about them and that I love them. Not to be too personal in the corporate
no,
world, but like,
no, bring that. That's so good.
yeah, I mean, I want to leave a legacy of love and um and hope, and I want to others to know that I believed in them. Not I don't care about what I accomplished alone. Like, I
Right.
want other people to remember how I made them feel. And so thinking about that, I that letting go, that helped me. I don't know if I'm being clear about this, but
No,
it's hard to
no,
talk
no,
about
no.
it.
It makes sense.
But I had to let go. Thinking about those things, about what I wanted out of my life, helped me let go. And so I ask myself, when I'm faced with, a hard decision, or I get wrapped up in corporate. I used to do that all the time. I'd work so much, and then, or even in my life now, even though I'm on leave and I'm doing all this author stuff, right? And I'm still somehow working myself. But I ask myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing this? And who am I becoming as I do it? And that kind of keeps me in an authentic and vulnerable place, I feel. Like, I think that helps me live
Yeah.
as I'm intended to live versus striving for perfection. So it helps me, asking myself those questions, I think helps me release that control that I feel like I need. Yeah.
Well, I think what you're really saying too is like, you're at the core of your identity. Does that make sense? Like, you know what you really want and what's really valuable to you. And when you know what is really valuable and who you are, right? And you know what you want out of life, understanding your identity and what you value, everything will flow from that. I think, and it's very difficult. Like, I can just be transparent. I've walked through a similar situation, and it's like there's always this struggle between image and identity, right? Like, image and identity, who you really are versus, like, what the world expects from you, or what you should be doing, or what you should look like, or what type of leader you should be, or mom you should be. I mean, as a like, there's all this pressure to look and be a certain way. And when we don't know who we are, what we really value, we wear ourselves out trying to like fit this image that really isn't who we are. And that's exhausting. So I think it's really liberating, to your point, to and sometimes the struggles help us reveal that, right? Like, what do we really care about? And then everything can flow through that. So I think that's awesome.
I mean,
So
I, speaking about identity, I think, like, you just made such a great point. And as much as to the outside world and in the corporate world and everyone who saw me or sees me and thinks I'm such a powerhouse, as you said. I mean, that's an amazing compliment, and thank you for that. But, you know, I think that the struggles that I've been going through with cancer, not working, it stripped away my comfort of
mm,
hiding behind hiding behind the identity that I thought I had, but really was just kind of going through the motions of being a corporate leader. Like,
right.
I realized I've said to my husband, I've been pretty open about it, like, sometimes I think I know more of who I am now than I ever have before.
Yeah.
And I needed this to happen to figure out who I was. Even though I was a leader and people looked up to me
Mm.
and I was doing great in life and on the surface everything seemed great. Um, I know I'm getting a little deep here, but I think
No.
that had to happen in order for me to find who I really was. And I I hid behind, not intentionally, but
Yeah.
my identity was work. And I said, as a mom, you lose yourself. And I just kept going back to my comfort is I excel at work and I'm
Right.
going to keep doing that. And so I needed this to happen to me so that I could let go of all the what I thought was
Right.
my, and then find my real identity. And it's couldn't be more true what you just said. I just totally agree with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now but it doesn't mean that you can't work. It doesn't mean that you
Right.
can't go back and show up. It
Mhm.
just means that you're not hustling to
Yeah.
prove that you
Right.
are this image. You are it and you're flowing from who you really are, and that's just an extension of your identity. And I think, again, I've went through some difficult times in my life, and that adversity, that struggle, that pain really makes you evaluate, right? Like what is truly important. So I guess my next question is, your cancer diagnosis is an incredible part of your story. And other than kind of the identity piece, how has walking through that shaped the way you see leadership and kind of resilience and growth? I know we talked a little bit about identity versus image, but in terms of your leadership, like how has that impacted you?
Ooh, that's a great question. I I think it's am I it has made me ask myself, am I leading with a greater purpose in mind? I think that without my diagnosis, I'm just hustling a day to day, all the little details. And as a leader in our
Yeah.
work, we get sucked into the daily hustle of doing the day to day things without thinking about the greater purpose. Like what's the end goal? What is the
What's the
vision?
why? Yeah.
What is the why? What is the vision that we have, and what mission are we on to fulfill? And that could be in life or work, but you get busy doing the little things. And so I think my diagnosis has taught me to slow down and
Mm,
prioritize
so
what
good.
is the most important thing
Yeah.
that's going to help us move the mission forward, help us
Yeah.
achieve the end goal, help us reach that greater um, purpose. And so at work, that's, you have to, I think that am I living and leading in the way that I believe is that God intended for me, really. And so like it's like pushing your mission forward with that greater purpose in mind versus getting lost in the minutia, getting lost in the detail.
Yeah, yeah. I like to say it like this: schedule your values. Again, it goes back to that identity piece. Like when you know who you are, when you know what you're about, then and you know what the big why is.
Right.
When you know your why, you know your way, and then you can schedule your values.
I love that. When you
Yeah.
know your why, then you know your way. Is that what you said?
Yeah, when you
Love
know
that.
your why, you know your way,
Yeah.
and so I oftentimes even write down my why consistently and have it kind of over even my family has a vision statement like why we exist. But
I love that you
when
do
you
that.
know that, then everything including your schedule and your life has to be in alignment with that. But I mean, I think we all have to also constantly reevaluate that. So I like to do, half of a year, just like a business plan. I mean, when you run a business, you're checking in, right? The beginning of the year, you have a strategy. Middle of the year, you're evaluating the strategy. I think we should run our lives and our purpose with that level of intentionality as well.
Mhm.
And really, okay, hey, are the things I'm doing, are the things that my time is being spent around really driving the purpose and why I was created and how I'm impacting people. So I think that's really awesome. But you kind of mentioned as we were preparing that you were able to shift in your kind of journey from saying why me to what now? Why me to what now? Can you unpack how that perspective has kind of changed your approach to challenges?
Yeah, totally. I think that it's interesting. Even at work, right? My we're all not perfect, can't be perfect. So
Right.
my natural reaction to something is always like, would be like, well, why me? Why did this happen to me today? And it's just like, it's a self-centered approach and it doesn't serve us. And so I think it's what now helps me focus on what can I do? What do I have impact over? What power do I have that I can control in my own life without getting lost in all of the self centeredness, I guess, in that why me statement. And so um I also shifted like the way I think from, you know, with speaking of diagnosis, right? I would be like, why would God do this to me? This doesn't make any sense. And I started thinking that at first. And then I was like, well, what can I do how can I take this situation and turn it into something that teaches me about myself and helps me serve others? And so I think that I don't know if I just unpacked it well enough,
No,
but
no, that's so
um,
good. That's so good. It's like our perspective shifts when we go from saying why me to use me in this situation,
mhm,
right? Like, how do we embrace? And I think the other thing that you touched on, and in leadership and leading teams, the victim mentality,
mhm,
it really is self-centered, and it is I would like to say, trap that
right.
keeps you stuck. When you
Mhm,
begin to embrace, whether that be cancer, whether that be a conflict that you're having in work, or a struggle that you're having in work or in the market or in your home, when you embrace the victim mentality, what you're doing is giving up control. And it is a tactic to keep you stuck in self-center and self-pity. So I often, will listen, in team environments to folks, and they're bringing a lot of excuses and a lot of like, this happened, and this happened, instead of saying, well, here's my plan. Here's how I'm going to overcome
mhm,
it. And here's what I'm going to take ownership of. And so I think that that's kind of goes hand in
yeah,
hand with leadership and that growth mindset in the middle of resilience. Would you agree?
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, can we just all say, like, if you're listening out there and you want to get elevated in a team or in life, like, let's not be the victim, right? Like let's make some lemonade out there and come up with solutions. Bring the
Well,
solution.
also to be kind of basic here, there's nothing worse when you lead a team when you have a whole team of employees that just bring you the problem and never never want to talk about a solution. Like
Right.
that's just like standard. Like let's just call it what it is. So,
It's the standard.
and I think that when you have a team that like when you lead by example and you yourself are not the victim and you lead from a space that's um vulnerable, but
Yeah.
also purposeful and impactful. And so you meet with your teams and then um they see that in you. And so they kind of emulate that, I feel like, when
Oh, yeah.
right? And I teach my teams that, okay, um the talk about purpose, right? So every meeting that I have had has a goal in mind or a purpose or an agenda, or we talk about what's going to be talked about in that, and they know that they're going to come to the table, even if it's not a full solution. We're going to work through that together, and then again, you're moving forward. Like it's
Yeah.
moving forward. You're not getting stuck because
Yeah.
you're open to ideas and you're collaborating and you're talking together. I think collaboration is the key there. But
Oh, that's so good. I like to tell my team, we're not going to be problem seers, we're going to be problem solvers. Right? So, like, whatever you focus on, I've learned, grows. And if
mhm.
all you're focused on is the problem and complaining about the problem instead of coming up with a collaborative solution, to your point, like, then it's negative, and toxic. So I think that's so good. And there was another thread that you mentioned, and I think I forgot it. I hope it comes back before we're done. But leadership and life both demand, if we can be honest, that we have a community. I personally haven't always had. I think it goes back to that vulnerability piece. I haven't always been the best at having a really strong and healthy community, but who has been the most instrumental for you in reflecting your like community, right? Like how do you who maybe has inspired you, or what tools can you share with us about having a community around you, both in life and personally, that helps propel you forward?
I don't know if there's been one single person. I also don't know if it's an actual person, because since my diagnosis, I've really leaned into my faith.
Come
And
on.
I think that's been honestly what has helped propel me forward, because I go back to what did God intend for me? And I haven't always been the most faithful person. I was raised Catholic, I go to church, but it's more like routine, right? And so now that I've had my diagnosis, I've really asked God to help me be open to having him in my life more and working through me. And when I asked out loud is when it started to happen. Like literally, it was wild. I literally had a conversation with God. It sounds like in my mind, it sounded crazy that I was literally talking out loud, but I did. And ever since then, I have had these things happen in my life that are just aligning. And it's just bizarre. I don't know. It's weird how God works in mysterious ways. But
Well, but hold on. So before we go forward, I think it's like I want to pull on that too, because I think, and again, I think people perceive a lot of times faith-based things or religion as religion, right? Like I show up, I go to church, I do the
right.
things, I check the box, I follow the rules, I'm a good
Mhm.
person. But like when push comes to shove and the pressure on your life is on, and you're at the bottom, you start to really grapple and ask yourself, like, what really is the meaning of life? Like, why am I here? And that relationship with your faith goes from being, something that's just routine to an actual relationship. I like to say it's not religion that God is after, it is relationship. He's not after your perfect performance. None of us are perfect. He's not after you following this list of rules. He's after your heart. He wants to know you and be known by you so that he can flow through you in a way that impacts the world around you. So I think that that is so important for people to hear that are maybe struggling in their faith walk. Maybe they grew up in church and it's like, man, this is not really doing it for me.
Mhm.
I think that the thing that maybe God is telling you, if you're listening today, is that God's not after your picture perfect performance. He is on a reckless pursuit for your heart. And once he has your heart, then everything else in your life will come into alignment. And he's not looking at you with some like taskmaster checklist, right? He wants to intimately know you, and he wants to move in your life in a radical way. And I think that's really important for people to hear, because it goes back even to what we were talking about with identity, right? Like when you look at church like religion, you're perpetual, it's the same thing. It's this hamster wheel of having to prove that I'm a good Catholic or a good Christian person. Do you know what I mean? And it's a performance, it's a checklist rather than like a relationship and knowing him and then flowing from that. So I think that's so critical, and I love hearing that, Lauren. Come on, shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much faith you wanted to pour into this podcast, so I was trying not to bring it up, but it's really it's so true. And that's why I don't think I could pick. There's been amazing people in my life that have all given me something different, right? And so I can't just pick one person that has impacted me or inspired me or helped me keep going. Or I mean, it's a community of people all around me. But but I know that that entire community is full of prayers, and I have prayers all over the country.
Yeah.
And I started saying, like, all these people are praying, but I haven't been, I think, as faithful as I could. I was kind of going through the motions. And then, like I said, I just asked out loud. That's all it took, was me asking out loud for God to be a part of my life more. And now we've instilled routines in our house that are meaningful. We've always prayed, but like now we pray with purpose. And that's changed the game for me. Like I just, it's made such a difference for us as a family.
Wow.
And that's important for me too, because God willing, I will be here in a year, but
Yeah.
like you don't know. And so while I'm here, I want to teach my children to pray with purpose, and that God has a plan for them and for me and for dad. And like, we don't always know what that is, but we're going to do our best to live it. So, um,
Yeah. Well, I love it. And I always want to, like, just to be clear, anything I do, I want God and faith to be an intimate part of it. So I welcome that discussion 100%. You know me in all my many different facets. So you know how much I love the Lord and how much I believe in what he's doing in you and through you. And I don't think it's an accident. And I'm so excited, like the influence in the middle of this struggle that the Lord has given you. I've gotten to watch from kind of the background, and it's really amazing to see like how many people you're touching by being authentic and transparent and sharing about what your journey. And so I just think that's awesome. So for someone today that's listening, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say one thing. My mom mentioned I was struggling with my faith in the beginning, really grappling with it. Why me? Why me? Why would he
Yeah.
do this? God has the power. He already took my dad away when I was 29. My dad died of stage 4 cancer at 55 years old. And so I always had this mentality kind of like, well, why? Why would he do that if he was so great and powerful, right? But my mom said something to me a couple, I want to say weeks after my diagnosis when I was struggling. And she said, um, God being there for you is not making everything perfect and taking this away, healing you from the disease. It's giving you the tools that you need to navigate through it.
Yeah.
You know that God is present because you have a community around you. You have the greatest doctors. You have all the things you need to beat this in your mind and physically, like the best case scenario, right? So like he, God, having a relationship with God, it's not that I'm going to understand the plan. I'm never going to understand.
Ooh.
Like, but I am going to do the best that I can with the tools that he's given me. And that's what the relationship is. He's with me through this. He
Yeah.
already knew I was going to get cancer. That was part of my plan all along. I'm sure. I don't know why, but it was part of my plan. And so now my job is to be the best person that I can to navigate this and give to the world what I can while I'm here.
So good. Yeah. He oftentimes doesn't take us out of the storm, but he gives us
Right.
the power and the grace and the authority to like stay in it. I think about he's in the fire with us. And it strengthens us, and it allows us to just be transformed in the middle of it, but also like again to your point, like to overcome it. And so I'm confident that that's going to happen, and I cannot wait to play this when I said that. And when we're ringing the bell and when we're excited. But okay, so you talked a little bit about like, we talked a little bit about community and like how the Lord has, helped you. But if someone's listening today who feels isolated, whether that be, corporate, whether that be personal, whether that be, spiritually, like what advice would you give that person that maybe is going through a hard time and feels isolated?
I know this is going to sound cheesy, but YOLO. You only live once, and you need to fill your life with what brings you joy. And if you are feeling isolated, you have to let go and let God, I guess, but like let go and just let yourself take the step.
Yeah.
You're what's the expression or the quote? Like you're never going to regret the chances that you didn't take. Is that what it is? Like
Right.
you, right? Like you just have to do it. Be confident in yourself and just take the step forward because it'll change your life, especially if you're feeling isolated from a community. Community is there to help guide you and support you and be your cheerleaders and help you through tough times. And speaking of community for me, I have a great community of friends and family. Um, and I've never really been I post on social media, like I used to post pictures of my kids and whatnot. But when I got diagnosed, I felt really compelled to just tell every person I could around my age to go get screened. Because while it wouldn't have saved me because I was not of age to get screened for a colonoscopy, um, there are plenty of people out there, moms especially, who they take care of their kids but don't take care of themselves. And so, anyway, my point is, I recorded a video, posted it on TikTok about my diagnosis, and it went viral. And I had all of these people commenting, like, oh my gosh, your story made me go schedule a screening. And I'm like, that's
Wow.
amazing. And then I also had people that said, I'm a stage 4 survivor. You can do this. And so I now have 11,000 followers on TikTok.
It's
And these
insane.
people, it's amazing to me. They check in. Like I might say on a video, I have a scan on a certain date. On that date, you better believe this community of TikTok followers, I will at least get a few
Wow.
messages in my inbox that says, I know you had a scan. I saw your video. I just wanted to see how you're doing. And so finding your community could be social media. It could be support groups through online. You could find your community in lots of different places. But anyway, you can't find your community if you don't take the first step.
Oh my gosh, you said so many things right there. So, number one, you said YOLO. I just want to pull that back. You only live once, folks. I mean, yes, we're going to live, but you only get one chance at this life with, your family, with your influence. And so I think taking a step when you feel isolated is so critical. And then there's two things I think that you mentioned that I want to pull out as well. Like you really felt compelled to, like, there was this inner calling to go and share your story. Part of that, you had to embrace vulnerability. Like, let's talk about how vulnerable it is to be on social media. Like, it is not comfortable for anyone. Like, it is so uncomfortable. But like, you have to embrace that vulnerability. And I know we mentioned a little bit about that earlier, but like, the reason that you're embracing the vulnerability is because you want to help people. It's all about serving people. So whenever so number one, you have to embrace, vulnerability. Number two, you have to embrace that like servanthood leadership piece, where you're serving other people. I think those are two things. When I feel isolated, I start to look at, number one, what is God calling me to do in this season? Who am I called to serve? And what area of pride, right? Because pride is what stops vulnerability, is stopping me from being and walking in the fullness. But can we just talk about really quick? Can we talk about like social media posting? Like, you know what I'm saying? Can we just for a minute be real? And we might edit this out. I'm not sure. But can we talk about the person that's like, oh, I'm going to make an impact? And then you have all the naysayers about like social media and blah, 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 and like, so how do you overcome like that negative, like talk track internally and around you, maybe to just step out there and do it anyway and to move your mission forward in that context?
Because I know if I show my authentic self in that environment,
Yeah.
people don't come at you like how many times have you scrolled and watched and you can see all the people who are just doing things for show
Yeah.
and and they come off perfect and they're the ones that end up, I feel like, getting kind of
Canceled.
scrutinized.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I show up there as being authentic,
Yeah.
and I recognize that not everyone has the same perspective as me. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. It doesn't need to impact me. I am doing what I feel I'm called to do. I post I don't do it every day. That's part of it. I step away. I
Yeah.
will post and then I'll step away for a bunch of days at a time because it is a lot. You can get sucked in very easily to the drama of social media. And I choose not to now. It's kind of exhausting. So,
It is.
I post what I feel compelled to post. I respond to people that have asked questions. I get a lot of questions, not just about the cancer, but I get questions about autism because I posted about my experience with, my daughter and her autism journey. So I get lots of questions and I feel like that's what drives me. It's not the post itself, it's not me showing myself. It's the questions I get that I'm able to answer, and I know that whether somebody, I mean, I've had people on my posts say things, right? But then on the other hand, I have these five people over here who have asked questions in my inbox, and now I have full conversations with them about how to handle going to an IEP meeting for their kid who has autism and being an advocate, or how they deal with their dad who just got diagnosed. What, recommendations do they have? And so it fills me, it gives me a purpose, and I know if I can make an impact on one or more people, that's all
Yeah.
that matters.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's about making an impact, showing up as your authentic self, bringing your best in that, and then, really focusing on how you can serve and make an impact in other people's lives. So good. Okay. So I know we have probably about like 5-10 minutes left. So I want to kind of just put a bow on everything that we've talked about today. But with everything that all the different balls that you're managing, the struggle of cancer, being an author of a book, still kind of having corporate America in the background, family is obviously a big piece of your life. With everything going on, I'm sure at times the struggle might be a little overwhelming. So how do you shift your mindset to be able to stay present and stay focused, right? Like, how do you stay grounded and not overwhelmed with everything that goes on or that is going on?
Um, it's funny. In order to be present, I take a step back. That's what I do. Because I get very wrapped up easily into everything that's going on. And that perfectionism still seeps in sometimes. I'm still like, oh, I am booking all these podcasts. I'm doing all these the book readings I'm doing now. And I've had some really amazing opportunities come up
Yeah.
and I don't want to turn them down. But I can feel myself getting pulled in lots of different directions. And my priority has to be my family right now. And it should always be my family. But it's, I can get pulled into different directions. So in order to stay present, I take a step back and I look at all of the strings that are being pulled and I go, what is the most important thing to me, and to my
Okay.
family, and to being fulfilled and living the way I'm supposed to live. And so, like, I can do all these book readings, but if I need to take a break, I can. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. And so it's just taking a step back and kind of evaluating the priorities, and making sure that my priorities are aligned with what I believe in is the most important thing in my life.
I love it. Schedule your values, people. We mentioned that earlier. Take a minute, step back, be present. I think being present is just so important. And I think, and I know we said it, but the theme really is when you embrace your authentic self and what you're really meant to do, it allows you to prioritize and then be present in each environment that really matters to you and not perform in the hustle of trying to produce an image. So, okay, in closing, what encouragement would you give leaders who feel like they may have something in front of them or in their future that is an obstacle or something that seems overwhelming? What encouragement would you give that leader today that's maybe listening?
Um, I would say, going back, I mentioned this earlier, but I think if you keep, I call it the two C's, but the clarity and compassion, if you keep that in mind with the decisions that you make, I don't think you can go wrong. I think, like, if you have challenges in front of you, one, like, I know you use the word prioritize. I think prioritize is overused word, but it's so powerful and important.
Right. Yeah.
So, but we prioritize with that clarity,
Mhm.
and then move forward with the decision that you're struggling with or whatever challenge you're trying to overcome, with compassion in mind and just be human. Like it's okay to be human through those decisions. I don't know if that was a very clear answer, but I feel like it goes back to
No.
um, make decisions about the challenges you're facing, be informed, but be human about it and be compassionate and be authentic during those decisions that you're making.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So good. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for sharing your story and your perspective and just your journey with me. You know how much I honor you and value you as a human above all things. You've given us some powerful perspective about being authentic, about prioritization, about leaning into who God created you to be, and about serving others. And really, that's the heartbeat of Mission Forward. So I appreciate your time. For our listeners, I know you had kind of a book that they can access. There is a 10% off code. You want to share a little bit about it? I believe it's Sparkle, but how can they get 10% off your book, and then maybe share a little bit about the book before we close?
Sure. So again, I talked a little bit about the book in the beginning, but it's based on my daughter and her autism journey. And I mean, really, I think all children and all adults have had a time in their life where they felt different or bullied or isolated or, challenged. And so I wrote the book for, I think the tagline on the front of the book is for every child who has ever felt a little different, you're more magical than you know, but it's for adults too. And I feel like it's so funny, I wrote the darn book myself, but when I read it, it empowers me as an adult to
So good.
remember that my brain is special. I was made exactly the way I was supposed to be made, and let that sparkle shine. And so that's, the message of the book. And I think as a parent, as a caregiver, as a grandparent, or just as an adult in general and a child, everyone can take away something from the book, even though it's a children's book. So it is my website is laurengilbertbooks.com. And you can purchase the book there. If you use the code SPARKLE at checkout, you'll get 10% off all orders. And the publication date is actually November 4th. So I have the books in stock now. They're in the warehouse and they're shipping. But the official date of release is November 4th. So up through November 3rd, you can get pre-order deals still. So buy 5, get 1 free. There's, an author signature and a message all personalized for, the reader. Or if you want to, we're getting to holiday season. So if you want to gift the book to someone, I can write a message to them. But yeah, there's lots of deals on there. And then, you can get the extra 10% off. You can also purchase it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or any major online book store. But the deals, the discounts and things are only through my direct website.
I love that. Well, congratulations. November 4th is the big day. We're going to be celebrating. Like, I'm so excited. I've been
Yeah.
with you since the beginning of the journey, and I just know that it is going to be a legacy that stays behind and impacts so many people. And it's just the beginning. I'm so confident there's many more books and stories and inspiration that you're going to bring forward. So we'll share all of that on all our social outlets and emails. So be on the
Yeah.
lookout for the information there. But Lauren, thank you so much for who you
Yeah.
are, for your authentic self, for being an inspiration, and for reminding all of us to move our God-given missions forward. We appreciate you and love you so much. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Your Mission Forward podcast. If this episode encouraged you, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with a friend, because your mission might just ignite theirs. You can connect with us on Instagram at _Mission Forward, or with me personally at Ashley_Faye_Baxter, and find more resources to help you live with purpose and lead with impact at AshleyBaxterConsulting.com. Remember, your mission is waiting, and it's time to move it forward. Until next time, keep leaning in, letting go, leveling up, and launching your mission forward with purpose.